Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Kenny Lamons here with Medicare Millennials. And yes, we are back in the rounding out the year here. We wanted to recap our AEP, or the Medicare Annual Enrollment Period, with you guys. Of course, I've got Ethan calling in from Michigan. He's been up there on a bit of a hiatus temporarily. What's going on, Ethan?
What's going on, man? Good to be back.
What you been doing in Michigan?
Freezing. Well, we'll get into that in a little bit, but my wife and I moved up here at the end of September. We bought a house because of our renewals, and so we've been working a little bit on that and doing our best to stay warm. It's a little bit different than the Texas weather.
Yeah, and this has been a weird year. Ethan and I have lived around the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And it was like 80 degrees a couple of days ago. It broke a record. It was 83 degrees. And even at night, it's getting down into like the 50s maybe. And a couple of days here and there, it's gotten into the 40s, but not much. So I guess global warming is real after all. So let's go, bro. Anyhow, well, let's jump right into it, Ethan. I considered this for myself a pretty successful AEP. But just want to hear it from you, because yours, really, to me, what was your final number for new apps for annual enrollment period?
So AEP was a little bit different for me. For new apps, I would put it at, I had to replace about 25 of current clients, whether a new plan came into their area or for whatever reason their needs have changed. So my total number was 130 minus 25, of course, is 105, which is a little bit less than last year, if you do recall. But there's been a significant difference in both mine and your marketing techniques that I really want to dive into and talk about, because although it was a lesser number overall, it was higher quality business, tenfold. So I'd love to talk about that today.
Well, yeah, but also on top of that, you were in a brand new market. I mean, of course, you still made sales in Texas, referrals and different things, but whatever normal direct mail leads that you did work were vast majority were in Michigan. So I think it's a testament to just learning a process, like an actual understanding the fundamentals of Medicare Advantage and having a process in place, that you were able to kind of last minute go up there into a new market in that part of Michigan that you're in and still have success. And I say that because, all the time we get people reach out to us that want to do maybe telesales like nationwide or in 5 or 10 different states. And what they don't understand is this isn't a ubiquitous product. It is just vastly different, even from one county to the next. And so it's difficult to for me, I've been working the same handful of counties now. This is my third AEP. So I really I know every plan that's entered, every plan that exits, every little change that's occurred. The vast majority of doctors, or at least the main doctors and hospital networks, I have memorized which plans they're in and which they're not, right? All of these little things that you don't understand help you in the sales process. You kind of had to start over with that. And so still doing, what'd you say, total of 133 apps?
Yeah.
Right? I think that's, excellent. We'll get into what you just talked about, but from just that, how hard was it for you to get familiar with a handful of new plans and apply, that same process to a new place?
Well, yeah, kind of like what you had mentioned. I mean, the reason you and me are so confident when we walk into houses is because we know the plans, because we know the counties, because we know the doctors, because we know the drug formularies. We know all that because we've done it a million times at this point. So, all the videos that we've put out, I claim that you could do this anywhere. You just got to learn a couple of things, and every little area is different. So, like you had mentioned, the process was the same. Dropping leads and calling the people, booking the appointment and seeing the people. That part is all the same. Now, although I do think the Michigan folk are a little bit more rude over the phone, that's okay because you can kind of, not that they're rude, they'll let you know whether you're invited or not. And in fact, I think I prefer that because they're not wasting your time. I hardly get no-showed. So as far as difference, it was a little challenging because I think we closed on our house September 25th. So we know that AEP was right around the corner. That didn't give me hardly any time to prepare, much less drop a whole lot of leads. So I got to just, it was exciting, guys, because I got to just start over. And what I mean by that is I got to start over on dropping leads. I've got my 4 areas that I work in Texas on lockdown. Like I know exactly when I'm dropping those, what it's going to produce, how many I'm going to get. I pretty much know all that. Whereas here, I'm doing that trial and error that a lot of new agents are going to be doing here pretty soon, or have done here recently, where you're going to drop a county, a certain demographic, and you just got to see how it plays. And
When
just
you
because
say drop a county, Ethan, what do you mean? Just for those that are getting into this.
Okay, yeah, great question. So just dropping like the direct mail leads in a particular county. In Texas, I would work 4 counties. I do county 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I drop 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3 times a year. Here again, I had to factor in new areas, but I also had to factor in like, hey, a lot of these leads might run into January where it's snowy here, and I don't know how to drive in snow. And so I got to keep that into consideration. I don't want to drop something. I was fine dropping a lead an hour and a half away from my house in Texas because that's no big deal. But I don't really want to drive an hour and a half come January when there's 10 inches of snow on the ground. So we're learning. And another thing I wanted to mention is just because, my first encounter with these people and these drops was during AEP. And guys, we know that during AEP, statistically, your lead return is significantly less than throughout the rest of the year and significantly more expensive. So I've got a lot of data from AEP, but I still believe it's skewed just because of the time of year. So I'm excited to try that again throughout throughout this year and during OEP especially.
So you're in a new area, you're testing out, okay, I've done a little bit of research on this county, this county, this county. Now you're not going to know perfectly. So you just you have the mailers sent out in those counties. And did you eliminate a couple of the counties where you're like, oh, that didn't return well, or it was too sparsely populated, I didn't like driving that far? What were some of the things you looked for to say, oh, wow, that was a pretty, I'm happy with that return on my mailing, I'm happy with the area I work, or if I work here all next year, I'll rule that county out,
Yeah, you'll certainly found a couple of places I don't think I'd go back. One was distance. I don't want to go back all the way. One was like an hour, 20 minutes, and it's closer to Lake Michigan. So we can assume that there's going to be more snow there come that time. Another one was, there was this insurance agent in town that had that town on lockdown, and good for him. The dude was on it. He had literally every single person. So yes, they were filling out paperwork for me to, come visit or call. But it really didn't get much further after that, after talking about secondary insurance. So good for that agent. Won't be dropping there again. And another place had just one plan. Like they had several plans, but it seemed like every person I called had that same plan. It seemed like whoever was out there doing, slinging that plan, they were also doing very well because these people knew what their plan was called, the benefits, everything about it. And so that was a pretty uphill battle there. But there was 2 counties. The ones that I was like the ones I was most surprised by that returned better than I would ever expected. It was the county that I live in. I think it's very powerful to sit there and say, I live here in Newaygo County. I live here down the road, right down 15 Mile. So I think that's super powerful, but it's like those people weren't served very well for whatever reason, whether it be income, whether it be location, whatever it may be. I had a lot of success in both my county and then the town and the county, the next town down, but in the next county. So, but again, we're trial and error here.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's just a quick testament to those new agents that are looking at getting in, or they just got into Medicare sales. They're looking into getting into Medicare sales, that even experienced agents, if you transition into a new state or a new set of like a new demographic that you're going to be targeting and marketing to, it's a whole new ball game. It takes effort. You're going to have to spend some money, spend some time. You're going to get let down in a few places where it just doesn't seem to work out. And you're going to find some honey holes where you say, man, I love working this town, this county, this area. They seem to be underserved. There's plenty of plans for people to choose from and to switch amongst. So Thank you for sharing that, Ethan. I think
Yeah,
that's
it's just super
request.
exciting because I know you haven't, I know you don't necessarily, and nor did I. We didn't really explore much outside of our counties. And so I want people that are watching this to understand that, hey, when and if you reach out and you need some help with looking at areas, I want you to understand that there's no possible way you or me can look at a county and when somebody reaches out and asks for it and say, hey, with 100% certainty, you're gonna do good here. That just takes trial and error, guys, and that does take money. That does take time and patience. Like Kenny had mentioned, you're gonna find one that you're like, never again am I doing that in that area. But then you're gonna find those honey holes, and that's gonna make all the difference. So you're just gonna have to continue dropping those leads and seeing what's gonna come from it.
So shifting gears a little bit here, because again, this video should mostly be about painting the picture of what our AEP looked like. Hopefully you guys can glean a lot from that. But also, I hope that anybody watching this video that's in their first AEP or hoping to get started and have their first AEP next year will understand that every AEP you're building upon your experience, and we'll talk about that. So it's not going to look exactly the same for you as it is for us. This was our third AEP. Okay. But I ended with 88 plans, which, for me, that was a little bit short of what I wanted. I wanted to hit 100 or more. And so to some of you, that sounds amazing, right? That's, if you think about it, AEP is only like 50-ish days, really. It's really less than 50 days because you're probably not working every Sunday and you've got that holiday in there. So that's, on average, you're selling 2.5 plans a day to hit that number. So to some of you, that sounds amazing. And then to me, I'm happy with it, a little bit short of where I wanted to be. And then to some, you're going to hear or see videos out there, hear us talk to other agents that did 200 to 250 all in one. And we're talking independent agents who are doing their own marketing. Don't compare to like a call center agent who's being fed leads. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just a different, like you're comparing apples to oranges in that case. Yeah. And also don't compare yourself to some of the some agents that maybe work for a captive agency, like they work for a well-known established agency that again has inbound leads. They have a long, we're talking, we want to compare ourselves to other independent agents that are paying for their own marketing, that are earlier on in their careers, to give a valid benchmark for what you should be aiming for. So anyhow, back to mine.
Yeah, Kenny, I wanted you, although it was 88, I feel like this was your strongest year ever. And so I wanted you to kind of talk a little bit about, your marketing efforts, and really, because you really kind of tweaked it quite a bit and are starting to set a local presence there. So do you mind kind of just explaining what you've done and why? Yes, although 88, but a lot of them were new to Medicare or referrals, things like that.
Absolutely. So yes, this was still a really strong AEP for me for a few reasons. So let me lay the groundwork here, guys. This is great information nobody else out there is going to be willing to give you, okay? Because this is the truth and the reality of it. So a couple of AEPs ago, almost every single one of my sales was either, because I was mostly a final expense agent before that, was more or less I sold like 60 or something. I can't even remember. But it was just, I went out and attacked all of my final expense clients, right? So that was really cool because I had a base of people to go after. And I was still dropping like final expense leads as well, during AEP, working final expense, but I was attacking my final expense clients. So that was really cool that I had a base and already had a relationship with most of the people that I sold. The negative to that was I lost a lot of those because I really didn't really know what I was doing yet. Okay, but that's a great way to get started. And then in this last AEP, where I did about 80 something again, but that wasn't mostly to existing clients anymore, because all of last year, if y'all follow us, we were selling Medicare leads, Medicare plans. So it's not like I was going back and wanted to switch a bunch of those people. Most of them were already set up where they wanted to be, or they left me and they weren't coming back. So last AEP, it was a bunch of new clients, but pretty much exclusively with some referrals. just brand new clients from leads that I was dropping. And that was really tough. I really had to grind just to get that 80 something, because I live around the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Is a very competitive market. By competitive, I just mean there's lots of other agencies, call centers, etc., dropping direct mailers, Facebook leads, all types of advertising. It's very competitive. So it cost me a lot of money to make it through that AEP and get those 80 some odd new clients. And again, I was more experienced, so I helped my customers make wiser choices than I did my first AEP. But since a lot of those were brand new clients that you don't just have, they're maybe not as loyal and as sturdy as this year's 88 clients that I sold. So what was the biggest difference? Okay, like I just mentioned, year one, didn't really know what I was doing, but I sold a bunch of people I had a relationship with. Year two, other than a handful of referrals, it was mostly brand new clients. I did know what I was doing, but they were brand new leads. This year, the vast majority of my sales came from referrals, okay, and local marketing, okay. So I more or less quit doing my direct mail lead drops right before AEP. I think I sprinkled one in early on in AEP just to kind of see what the return rates were looking like on direct mail at that time. But for the most part, once AEP started, I was not on my regular weekly lead returns. I worked any of the leads I had left over right here in my local area, and I did a bunch of local marketing. So what does that look like? What do I mean when I say I did a bunch of local marketing? So I did a few things. All of this is new to me, and I'll be glad to take y'all through the journey with me over the next 6 to 12 months as I've now laid the foundation as I keep exploring, trying to do better at this local marketing. So I did a few things. I dropped T65 mailers only right here in my backyard, okay? I mean, really locally. So I do live in a fairly populated area, but I don't live in Fort Worth, So when I say I kept it in my backyard, I mean, I might have 400 or so people a month in what I call my backyard turning 65. And so that's what I was mailing all 400-ish of those people. The postcard that I use, I just created it on Vistaprint. I put a picture of me and my family, and so that it, nice and big, so that it had a personal touch. I had a big thing that said local Medicare agent. You're turning 65. I'm a local Medicare agent and I'm here to help. Right. So super simple. I just kind of made that up, had a little bit of
How
verbiage.
much better is that than Humana sending their plain Jane letter, or United sending theirs, all the other agencies and IMOs and everything else sending out, because these guys are targeted. How much better, and this is for the crowd and for the people listening, but just think about how much better and stronger that is you see a picture that just says Medicare is coming up, and it's like, yeah, I know. And they usually do that. But then they see a picture of a family saying, I'm local, I'm here to help, I'm right down the road, I'm an expert, I can come to you. I mean, just think about how much stronger that is than just a regular old T65 lead card. Because I know there's people out here that's going to listen to this and go, I've done T65, ain't fooling with it, because you and me have done that, and we did it completely wrong, and it was a bust a couple of times. So just understand what Kenny's trying to say, as far as this isn't just another letter that says, hey, you're turning 65, call me. There's a lot more
personalized postcard, and it's going to be most effective the more locally that you send it. Yeah. So if you can say like proudly serving Parker County, right? And you have a local phone number and a picture of you and your family, that's what's going to distinguish you. Because these big call centers or these carrier mailouts, they're going purely off volume, okay? They know they're either relying on their brand name to catch the eye, or they're relying on just pure volume. I mean, they've got the money and the budget to mail out to millions of Americans, across the country. What I'm doing here was not that. So this is my first time to really do a personalized postcard like that. I did it right on Vistaprint. I bought a list from a direct mail company so I knew the name and address and date of birth of the people around here turning 65. So sending out 400 cards plus buying the list, it's like around $350, $400 per deal. So it's really not that much. Now, I have no idea how it was going to work. And I was pleasantly surprised, but pump the brakes here. Like, this isn't going to replace. In fact, if you're a very brand new agent, the only way this would be a good idea for you is if you were doing this part-time, and you were, like, you're just slowly building your book.
Didn't have a tremendous amount of money either.
Yeah, you didn't have a whole lot of money, and or maybe you do have money, you're just trying to passively get this thing going on the side. It could be good. It would be a terrible way to try to start your business if you're going to invest your money and try to build fast. That's what regular leads are for. We'll distinguish between that in a minute. Okay, so these T65 mailers, I ended up mailing like 12, no, less than that, like 1,100 names total. And one of those was really recently. So we can pretty much, that one doesn't even count. So like during the meat of AEP, I probably sent out like 800 of these.
Okay.
And I've already closed 10 brand new to Medicare's. I've got a couple more in the pipeline, pretty much done. Just remember, this is T65s. They may not be retiring yet. They may call you, say, I'm turning 65, but I don't retire until December of this next year, whatever. Right. So, hey, I feel really good about that. I can tweak some things. I can figure out how to do this a little, like, that's a good enough data right there for me to say, right, this needs to be part of my marketing strategy going forward. I need to make it a little bit better each and every time. And this isn't worth investing in, because if I spent it was less than $1,000 for sure, $700 or $800 on those 800 people receiving that card, you close 10 brand new to Medicare's at $600 some odd dollars per sale. You made over $6,000 off that. Now, you have no clue. Ethan just asked me, hey, I just mailed out a T65 mailer. I think it hit their doorstep or their mailbox a few days ago. What can I expect? Said, dude, they're just still trickling in. Like, I've had people call me weekly that'll be like, hey, I've been hanging on to your postcard. It was the only one that stood out to me because you're local. That was a month ago, but now I need to get this done. I turned 65 in January.
Doesn't that feel good?
A lot of people calling me last minute, and so there is no perfect way with this to know when they're going to call you. You got to be prepared to answer every phone call, or at least have a really nice voicemail so that they don't think, they know you're going to call them back. You can't, until you scale this, it's really, really hard for it to be the only or the main way that you get business. But it has been a really good, local, fairly inexpensive way to complement my business for that awesome brand new to Medicare client, and adding that to my repertoire. So that was a good part.
And don't forget that statistic out there. I think that's one of the most important things to remember about this. Although the new to Medicare is double commission, that's great. We love that. I think more importantly here is that statistic out there that says X amount of the percentage, whatever it is, on if you get the person first, when they're first on the Medicare. So new to Medicare, T65, and you kind of explain everything. You give them the supplement advantage route. You walk them through every bit of that. The statistic out there shows that they will stay with you, most likely for the longevity of the time that they're on Medicare. So, I mean, we love the double commission, but we're not in the Medicare space because of the upfront commissions here, guys. We're in the business because of the renewals. So we're creating that really strong bond between that person. And guess what? Typically they work somewhere that's going to have other people retiring soon, right? And then guess what's going to happen? There's more referrals. So great job.
So let me real quick add in the other local marketing stuff that I've done. I want to make it short. That's a big one. That's really good because they're new to Medicare. So on average, they're going to stick around longer. And Medicare millennials here are always looking to build a long-term successful book of business, right? I always say that. We're not just looking for the quick sale, or else we should go back to final expense.
Right.
Okay, so, you've got getting people at 65 is great. It's very difficult to do. So just know that shouldn't be your number one strategy, probably starting out, but something to look into. Another thing that I did was join a leads group. And so there is a bigger company, I don't know what you call organization. It's an international organization called BNI, but it doesn't have to be BNI. That is just one of many options for a leads group. What a leads group is a group of business owners that get together. Like for me, we meet weekly, get to know one another. We even have some social events and stuff. The most important thing is we support one another's business. We are obligated we make a commitment. In fact, we take like an oath, some type of oath type thing to say, hey, I will provide business to the people in my leads group, and I will actively follow up with any referrals that I receive from people in this group. You know, we are obligated to support one another's businesses. Now, of course, you're not like legally obligated to buy. If you will need a new tire and there's a tire shop in your leads group, you can go to the guy down the road, right? But you're making like a personal commitment to these business owners to support each other's businesses.
Yeah.
Now, I joined that group over a year ago now. Okay. I think the first 6 months, I probably got 4 referrals. But in the last 6 months, I've gotten 15 referrals, right? So it's getting up closer to 2 or 3 per month.
Take a little time.
Right? Yeah. And why is that? It's because this isn't a leads machine. It's building relationships with other business owners. PNC agency, there's PNC agency owner. There's the probably the most popular automotive repair places in there, numerous different businesses. There's 48 of us in this group. But that is a great way to plug yourself into the community, to build relationships to help sharpen you as an entrepreneur and as a person. And then if you're willing to commit and stick with it, it will start returning regular, strong referrals, some type of leads group. So that's a long-term play. And that's for somebody who really wants to get well established in their community, is willing to put in the commitment, maybe a weekly or bi-weekly meeting with these people, probably have to pay some dues to have a meeting place, etc. And then also somebody who just wants to build themselves up as an individual and surround themselves with other successful entrepreneurs and business owners to build themselves up as well. So that's a great thing that I've done. I've started sponsoring events. So I got really lucky. I've made a great relationship with who runs our senior center in my county. So I'm in their newsletter, monthly newsletter. I've got an advertisement in there, sponsoring Santa here. That's just heck. I think that's this Thursday. So there'll be a big picture of me behind the Santa or somewhere around there. I'm
Cool.
sponsoring the Santa at the senior center. I go and help if a carrier is, we've got a local carrier that likes to do events there. I'll come assist with that event. I volunteer there. So find your local senior center and make a relationship there. You know, they'll let you maybe do some educational classes, sponsor some events, really get you plugged in, because it's not just about what sales you make there. It's about becoming the guy, right? Where you help Betty at the senior center, and Betty goes and plays cards every Friday or goes to bingo night at the senior center. Somebody brings up Medicare and you're the name that gets passed around. So that's establishing yourself locally. It will not pay the bills today. It's a long-term commitment to building a long-term successful book of business that you do on top of your leads as you slowly make.
So glad you mentioned that.
From leads.
Yeah.
A few things that weren't great. I sponsored a golf tournament. Turned out most of the people were a lot younger, and all they wanted to do was get drunk. So I spent like $600 total sponsoring, getting out at this golf tournament. Wasn't the best. All I would say about that, I also sponsored a hometown Christmas in downtown. That was great. What I'm getting at with sponsoring local events, really take the time to think about the demographic that you're going to be seeing there, right? We're focused on seniors. So we need to make sure we're not spending money and time sponsoring and being at an event where, you're not going to get to talk and get face-to-face with seniors.
Yeah. Well, like leads, it's trial and error. You know, there's going to be some really good ones and some honey holes. And then there's going to be some ones where you're like, I'll never do that again.
And I'm going to make videos going forward about what's working and what's not working with these different approaches that I'm taking. And y'all, those that are considering working with us, you know, we'll give you all the advice we can, but still, just like working a brand new place in Nebraska that we've never been to, there's some trial and error. We can give you all the advice we want, but you're going to have to be willing to commit with a local marketing or a direct mail marketing campaign to figuring it out. So one more piece to the local marketing that has been great. This is actually what I'm focused on this month is I'm going to senior living centers. So 55 plus. And this isn't nursing homes, right? It can have some assisted living, but it's mostly independent living for older seniors, 55 and plus. I'm going in there and I'm just trying to make a relationship with the property managers and offer, hey, look, my name's Kenny. I live nearby. I know that you guys are always looking to fill your calendar with fun and engaging events that are useful for your tenants and your residents. I provide that. I will give a free educational class over Medicare and just the general fundamentals of Medicare. And then I do absolutely no selling at this event. I don't present any products. I just do education and Q&A. And then, but in turn, they're going to get a lot of value in that. And they are going to call me, take my card, ask me to set up an appointment. That has been great, and I don't want to go too far into that, but so in a nutshell, the three things that have been most effective for me so far in local marketing have been these very personalized postcards to T65s in your area, joining a leads group with other business owners that help give you solid leads, you give them back to them, and finding these retirement communities where you can go on and make a relationship with the property manager and put on classes for them. That one's more or less absolutely free other than your time, right?
So yeah.
Presentation. Well, that's how I got most of my business. Let me sum it up by saying it was really strong. I mean, of those 88, like nearly half of them are brand new to either Medicare Advantage or brand new to Medicare. Okay. And almost every single one of them, I just feel like I already have such a relationship with versus just meeting somebody off of a lead for the first time, that this business is just as much about retention as it is acquisition. So I feel really, really good about that. So, hey, I know that was a bit long, but I think that covers that. So.
No, I think that's great. And just to get an idea of like, I think what we ought to do in the future, Kenny, is let's keep up this for 2022. Let's keep up, because I can't take that approach. A little bit about what I'll be doing the next year or so. I'll be bouncing around. My wife and I are trying to expand our real estate portfolio as well. So I can't really create that local bond that Kenny's doing. And so, what I'm going to have to do is a little bit different. I'm going to be still dropping leads. I'll still be, what I'm doing is I send out a quarterly postcard. I try and do a quarterly voicemail. I just bought this magazine subscription that I get like 6 or 8 pages in there. My name and number.
Into that. We're going to do another video just.
Yeah. Well, what I was just going to get at is what what I would like to do next year. What we ought to do is just for the people, of course, and for our ultimately our bottom line here. I would love to see like, all right, Ethan spent $10,000 on marketing dollars, and we got this many clients out of it, and Kenny spent this much money and he got this many clients. So let's do that. Let's keep up with that next year, and that way we can let the people know. But again, this local marketing that we're doing is not replacing your direct mail or whatever your main campaign is right now. This is in addition to, and until that gets pretty solid, until Kenny gets it refined where all of a sudden he's getting 15, 20 referrals a month. I mean, that then he could take his foot off the gas on his regular direct mail.
Just double down on that. Yeah. So to recap, guys, we are big proponents of leads. They're consistent and they're stable and they're scalable. You can more or less predict with some margin of error there what you can get. That's going to help you build your base. And then we're going to help teach you guys above and beyond that for the long term. What else are we doing to take the next step? And we're going to give a video here very shortly on what has been working with our current book of business to both keep them around, increase cross-sell opportunities, and most importantly, generate referrals from our book of business. We'll do a whole video on that.
For that one.
And we'll do a whole video on precisely our plan for Medicare open enrollment period, which is from January to March. This is a great period for you new agents. It's the best time to get into the business. What it is for folks that are already on Medicare Advantage, they have an opportunity to either leave Medicare Advantage plan or to switch from one to another. Guess what? A lot of people made mistakes. They talked to some bozo over the phone, some call center that made a bad recommendation to them. They can't see their doctors anymore. Their drugs aren't covered. And here we are to save the day. From January to March, we can help them make that switch. So the next 2 big videos we're going to have coming up again will be over managing your book of business as it grows, and then our exact plan and strategies and tips for the Medicare annual open enrollment period. Okay. And both me and Ethan will be dropping leads very consistently during this time because it's such an important time of the year. So I think we've been going for at least 30 minutes, maybe close to 30. So you want to say anything to wrap it up for today, Ethan?
I mean, other than guys, we appreciate you being patient with us this year as we had a small break from YouTube. You know, we're back up, we're ready, we're excited. I've got a whole list of content that we're going to be putting out this year. So be on the lookout for that stuff, as well as look for us on Instagram. We're also Medicare Millennials there. We do a lot of little tidbits here and there. And then I want to just one more thing. OEP guys, if you're on the fence about getting into insurance, Medicare in particular, if you didn't have as good of an AEP as you wanted, or leads were expensive, returns were low, whatever it may be, guys, OEP 2020 is when both Kenny and we lit it on fire. That's when we figured it out. That's when we launched to the moon, because I wrote 42 my first AEP, which seems like a lot to some and seems like a little to a lot. But man, when OEP hit, that's when I think I wrote 150. So guys, be there for the next video. We're excited to go over that one, and then I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. And so I know my goal for OEP, those 3 months, and I think this is a conservative goal kind of, but realistic goal is 100 new policies, stretch goal is 150. And that's very doable, guys. Like plenty of people doing that. We'll kind of help explain how we plan to do that. But thanks for joining back with us, Medicare Millennials. Of course, follow Ethan. He manages our Instagram page. It's just Medicare Millennials. And then if you're interested in working with us, you can reach out to us at MedicareMillennials.com. Hey, y'all have a wonderful, we'll have a video out before Christmas, but you guys have good leading up to the holidays.
Appreciate it. We'll see you, Kenny.
Yeah.